June 10th, 1944. Somewhere along a hedgerow road outside Carentan, Normandy. The engine hum is constant low, mechanical, predictable. Hauptmann Karl-Heinz Weber leans slightly out of the half-track, scanning the road ahead through a pair of dust-coated binoculars. At first, he thinks it's a mistake. A mirage, maybe. Heat shimmering over the broken French countryside. Because the road ahead isn't empty. It's moving. A column of vehicles long, unbroken, stretching far beyond what the eye can comfortably follow. Trucks. Dozens at first glance. Then hundreds. Then more. Weber lowers the binoculars. Das ist unmöglich. He mutters. Impossible. The convoy doesn't behave like anything he has seen before. German supply lines are careful, controlled, protected, sparse when necessary. Movement is deliberate, never exposed like this. But these American trucks, they don't stop. They don't scatter. They don't hide. They flow, like a river made of steel and rubber. A jeep speeds past the column, overtaking slower trucks. No hesitation, no discipline in the traditional sense. Yet somehow, no chaos either. It works, seamlessly. Weber raises the binoculars again, this time focusing on details. Canvas tops, white stars, drivers relaxed, some even smoking. No fear, no urgency. Just momentum. Behind him, a young lieutenant shifts uneasily. Herr Hauptmann, should we report this? Weber doesn't answer immediately. Because he's counting. 1 truck, 2, 10, 50, 100. He stops counting. There's no point. The realization begins as a quiet discomfort in the back of his mind. Not fear yet, but something close to it. This isn't just a convoy. This is a system. Days later, further inland, Oberstleutnant Franz Bake receives similar reports from multiple units. Uninterrupted American vehicle columns observed near Eisenach. Continuous supply movement toward the front. Estimated hundreds, possibly thousands of vehicles daily. Bake reads each report carefully, then places them in a neat stack on his field desk. He's a seasoned officer, Eastern Front veteran. He's seen chaos. He's seen overextension. And this doesn't fit. He turns to his operations officer. How many trucks do we estimate the Americans have landed? The officer hesitates. Sir? We don't know. Bake looks up slowly. You don't know, or you cannot believe the number? A pause. Both. Herr Oberstleutnant.
What the?
The myth had always been clear. German logistics were superior, efficient, precise, engineered for war. Blitzkrieg itself depended on tight coordination between armor, infantry, and supply. The Americans, by contrast, were often dismissed. Too reliant on abundance, too wasteful, too soft. But now, along the dusty roads of Normandy, that belief is beginning to fracture. Because what Weber saw, what Bake is reading, is not waste. It is scale. Thou, July 1944. Near St. Lo. SS Sturmbannführer Ernst Barkmann stands beside his Panther tank, staring at a distant road through a gap in the trees. Again, the trucks. Always the trucks. Day and night. Engines growling. Tires grinding. Endless motion. He watches as a line of vehicles continues for minutes without interruption. Fuel trucks, ammunition carriers, medical units, repair crews. Each one part of something larger. Something relentless. His loader, barely 20, whispers. How many can they possibly have? Barkmann doesn't respond. Because for the first time, he doesn't have an answer. And that is new. War. The sound becomes unavoidable. Even miles from the front, German units begin to hear it. A distant, constant rumble. Not artillery. Not aircraft. Engines. Thousands of them. Moving. Always moving. In one intercepted conversation, a German signals officer records a frustrated field report. The Americans appear to possess unlimited transport capability. Their supply lines are continuous. Continuous. The word circulates among officers. Whispered. Repeated. Questioned. Feared. Because war, as they understand it, is governed by limits. Fuel runs out. Ammunition depletes. Men exhaust. But what happens when one side seems to have no limit at all? Back near Carentan, Weber watches another convoy pass. This time, he doesn't try to count. He just listens. Engines. Tires. Voices. Life moving forward. Unstoppable. And for the first time, a thought forms clearly in his mind. If this continues, we cannot win this war. He lowers the binoculars slowly. The trucks keep coming. They don't stop. They don't slow. And somewhere deep within the German command structure, the realization has begun. But realization alone changes nothing, because what they are seeing is only the beginning. And soon, the scale of it will become impossible to ignore. Late July 1944. A dusty crossroads outside Coutances, Normandy. The air is thick with heat and movement. Not battle. Movement. Major Dietrich von Keller stands beside a shattered stone wall, watching the road below through a narrow break in the hedgerow. His uniform is streaked with dirt, his eyes heavy from days without proper rest. But he doesn't blink, because what he's seeing demands attention. The trucks are no longer surprising. They are constant. A continuous chain of motion, vehicle after vehicle, bumper to bumper, stretching in both directions like an artery feeding something massive and unseen. He checks his watch. 5 minutes. 10. 15. Still they pass. No gaps. No hesitation. Just flow. Count them, he orders quietly. A young Gefreiter nearby nods and begins. Eins, zwei, drei. By 50, his voice slows. By 100, it falters. By 200, he stops completely. Sir, it doesn't end. Keller doesn't react. Because he already knows. These are not random movements. They are organized. Each truck carries a purpose: fuel, ammunition, rations, spare parts, medical supplies. Each one precisely where it needs to be, exactly when it needs to arrive. No confusion. No congestion. No visible command. And yet, perfect coordination. Keller narrows his eyes. This is not supply, he murmurs. This is strategy. Back at a German field headquarters near Weyer, intelligence officers gather around a crude wooden table. Maps are spread out, markings everywhere. Red arrows for German positions. Blue arrows for Allied advances. But what dominates the map are lines. Long, looping lines stretching from the beaches of Normandy deep into the interior. American routes. Supply routes. Constantly updated. Constantly expanding. Oberstleutnant Bake stands over the map, silent. An intelligence officer speaks. They are moving faster than expected. Every time we delay them, they recover within hours. Fuel shortages, none observed. Ammunition plentiful. Replacement vehicles continuous. Bake taps the map. These roads, how are they maintaining this volume? Another officer answers. Sir, they're not using a single road. He points. Multiple parallel routes, staggered timing, round-the-clock movement. Bake's eyes shift slightly. How many vehicles per day? The room goes quiet. We estimate over 20,000. Silence. No one moves. No one questions it, because the number itself feels absurd. And yet, it explains everything. August 1944. Operation Cobra has shattered the German front. Now, the Americans are no longer contained. They are advancing. Fast. Too fast. Near Avranches, German units attempt to regroup, to establish a defensive line. But something is wrong. They prepare positions. They wait. They expect time. But the Americans arrive almost immediately. Tanks, infantry, artillery. Supplied. Fully supplied. As if distance means nothing. Hauptmann Weber, now reassigned and exhausted, watches as American forces appear where they shouldn't yet be. They were supposed to be 2 days behind, someone says. Weber shakes his head slowly. Not with this. He gestures vaguely toward the unseen roads behind the American advance. Those roads. Always those roads. Intercepted reports begin to reveal a name, a concept, something the Germans had not anticipated, the Red Ball Express. At first, it sounds trivial, almost laughable, a nickname, but the details are not. Thousands of trucks, dedicated routes, drivers working in shifts, minimal stops, no delays, day and night operations. A system designed for one purpose: keep everything moving, no matter what. A German signals unit captures a transmission. Convoy moving through Route N. No interruptions. Estimated arrival ahead of schedule. Ahead of schedule. Even under pressure. Even under attack. They are faster than expected. Always faster. Keller sits alone that night, writing a report by dim lantern light. He pauses mid-sentence, because he's struggling to find the words. How do you describe something like this? He writes anyway. The enemy's logistical capability exceeds all prior estimates. Their operational tempo is sustained not by tactics alone, but by an unprecedented volume of mechanized transport. Engagements are rendered ineffective due to rapid resupply and reinforcement. He stops, looks at the page, then adds one final line. It is not their weapons we are failing to stop, it is their movement. And that is the shift. The quiet, terrifying realization spreading through German command. This is no longer about individual battles, not about tanks, not about infantry, not even about strategy in the traditional sense. It is about momentum, and the Americans have mastered it. By mid-August, entire German units begin reporting the same phenomenon. No matter where they strike, the Americans recover. Quickly, efficiently, relentlessly, as if every loss is instantly replaced, every delay erased, every weakness patched over before it can be exploited. Weber hears it again one night. That distant sound. Engines. Constant. Unbroken. He closes his eyes, and for a moment he imagines it stretching all the way back to the ocean, to the beaches, to the ships, to the factories beyond, an entire world feeding this advance. When he opens his eyes again, the truth is unavoidable. This isn't a front line anymore. It's a conveyor belt. And it's moving in only one direction, forward. But even now, many German officers still believe it can be stopped. That somewhere, somehow, this river of steel can be cut. That if they strike hard enough, they can break the flow. They are wrong. Because what they haven't yet seen is just how far this system reaches, and how impossible it is to shut it down. August 18th, 1944. Near Falaise, France. The sky is low and heavy, thick with smoke and the distant echo of artillery. Burned-out vehicles line the roads like blackened skeletons. The battlefield is chaos, broken units, scattered commands, fragments of an army trying to hold itself together. But through it all, the trucks still move. Oberstgruppenführer Paul Hauser stands near a shattered command vehicle, staring down a narrow road choked with retreating German forces. And beyond them, American trucks. Still advancing, still supplying, still feeding the pressure closing in around the Falaise pocket. Hauser's voice is sharp, urgent. Destroy the roads. Collapse the routes. Stop their transport. Orders ripple outward. Engineers scramble. Artillery is redirected. Luftwaffe units, what little remains, are called in. Because now, finally, the German command understands the truth. You don't defeat this enemy by destroying tanks. You defeat it by starving it. And so they try. That afternoon, German artillery begins targeting key road junctions. Shells slam into intersections. Craters form. Debris scatters. For a brief moment, the flow slows. A convoy halts. Drivers step out. Officers shout. Dust hangs in the air. Hauser watches from a distance. For the first time, a flicker of hope. This is it, someone says beside him. We've broken it. But then, movement. Not forward. Around. A lead jeep turns off the damaged road, cutting through a narrow dirt path beside a hedgerow. One truck follows, then another. Within minutes, an entirely new route begins to form. Improvised, unplanned, yet somehow expected. Engineers arrive almost instantly. American engineers. They don't panic. They don't hesitate. They build. Bulldozers push earth aside. Temporary fills are laid. Traffic is redirected with hand signals and shouted commands. And within an hour, the convoy is moving again. Hauser watches in silence. The hope fades just as quickly as it came. They adapt too fast. Someone mutters. Hauser doesn't respond. Because what he's seeing isn't adaptation. It's preparation. Further south, a German armored unit launches a direct attack on a major supply route. Panzerfeuers roll forward through tree cover, engines roaring, guns ready. They hit the convoy hard. Trucks explode, fuel ignites, smoke billows into the sky. For a moment, destruction. Finally, but then, resistance. Not from tanks, not from heavy armor, but from everything else. Armed escorts return fire. Infantry dismount from nearby vehicles. Even truck drivers, grab weapons and fight back. Not retreating. Not scattering. Holding. The German commander, Hauptmann Rolf Schneider, watches through his scope as the Americans stabilize the situation faster than expected. Reinforcements arrive. Quickly. Too quickly. Within minutes, the attack loses momentum. Within an hour, it collapses. And within 2 hours, the road is active again. Schneider lowers his weapon slowly. This is not normal, he whispers. Every attempt follows the same pattern. Strike. Disrupt. Damage. And then recovery. Faster than logic allows. By now, German intelligence has gathered enough to form a terrifying picture. The American supply network isn't a single artery. It's a web. Multiple routes. Redundant paths. Backup plans layered on top of backup plans. You can cut one road. They use another. You destroy a bridge. They build a new one. You hit a convoy. Another is already on the way. It cannot be stopped in one place, because it exists everywhere. Weber reads the latest report under dim light. Enemy logistics remain unaffected by localized disruption. He exhales slowly, unaffected, even under direct attack. That night, he hears the engines again. Closer now. Louder. Endless. He tries to sleep. He can't. Because the sound isn't just noise anymore. It's pressure. Psychological. Constant. A reminder that no matter what they do, it keeps coming. By late August, the Falaise pocket begins to collapse. German forces retreat, those who can. Others are trapped, encircled, cut off. Not just by enemy troops, but by speed. American forces move faster than expected. Always. They arrive sooner, strike harder, stay supplied. And now, the realization spreads beyond officers. Soldiers begin to understand it too, in quiet conversations, in exhausted whispers. They have everything, we have nothing. It doesn't stop. Morale shifts, not suddenly, but steadily, like erosion. Because war is not just fought with bullets and steel. It's fought with belief. And that belief, the belief in German superiority, in control, in eventual victory, is being worn down by trucks, simple machines, rubber tires, canvas covers, engines that never seem to rest. Hauser receives the final updates. The pocket is closing. Escape routes are gone. He folds the report carefully, looks out toward the distant horizon. And for the first time, there is no strategy left to consider. Only reality. We cannot match this, he says quietly. No one argues. Because by now, it is undeniable. The American advantage is not temporary. It is not fragile. It is not something that can be broken with a single decisive blow. It is structural, built deep, sustained endlessly. And as the remnants of German forces pull back from Normandy, they carry with them a new understanding, a new kind of fear, not of tanks, not of planes, not even of the soldiers themselves, but of something far more dangerous, something they cannot see all at once, but can feel every hour, every mile. A system that never stops moving. And the worst part, they are about to learn that Normandy was only the beginning. September 3rd, 1944. Near the Belgian border, the road is no longer a battlefield. It's a current. Columns of American vehicles surge forward across France, no longer confined to narrow beachheads or contested hedgerows. The breakout has happened. The line is broken. Now, it's pursuit. Hauptmann Karl-Heinz Weber stands on the edge of a village recently abandoned by German forces. The air is strangely quiet, no artillery, no immediate threat. Just that sound. Engines. Always engines. He watches as an American convoy moves through the town without slowing. Jeeps in front, trucks behind, then more trucks, then tank transporters, fuel carriers, ambulances. Everything in motion. Everything coordinated. This is no longer supply. This is expansion. Days earlier, German command had hoped distance would become a factor. That as the Americans pushed deeper into Europe, their supply lines would stretch thin. That eventually, they would slow. But they don't. Because what Weber is seeing now is something entirely new. Not just movement, but infrastructure in motion. Entire roads have been assigned exclusively to American supply traffic. One direction only. No civilian interference. No confusion. Just flow. A captured German report describes it with a single phrase. Rollende Autobahn. A rolling highway. And at the center of it all, the Red Ball Express. Thousands upon thousands of trucks, moving day and night, connecting the beaches of Normandy to the advancing front lines hundreds of kilometers away. Drivers rotate in shifts. Engines rarely stop. Routes are controlled, regulated, enforced. Speed is everything. A German reconnaissance team observes one of these routes from a concealed position in a wooded ridge. What they see doesn't feel real. Truck after truck after truck. No gaps, no breaks, no end. One soldier begins timing it. 5 minutes. 10 minutes. 20. 30. Still they pass. Are these all from one unit? He asks quietly. The officer beside him shakes his head. No. He pauses. This is all of them. Because now, the scale has revealed itself. This is not a single convoy. Not a temporary surge. Not even a phase of the campaign. This is the system. Fuel flows forward. Ammunition flows forward. Food flows forward. Men, machines, replacements, all flowing. Constantly. And behind it all, an industrial force so vast, it cannot be seen from the battlefield. Factories. Ports, ships, rail lines. An entire nation feeding this machine. Weber receives updated intelligence that evening. The Americans are advancing at a rate exceeding all projections. Supply shortages, none observed. Vehicle losses, rapidly replaced. He reads it twice, then sets it down, slowly, because now even the illusion of limits is gone. Near Aachen, German defensive planners attempt to establish a new line, a stronger line, one that can finally absorb the pressure. But the problem is no longer just strength. It's time. They need time to build, time to organize, time to prepare. But time is exactly what the Americans are not giving them. Every hour, new units arrive, supplied, ready. Every delay is temporary. Every defense is tested immediately. There is no breathing room. In a dim command bunker, a senior German officer studies a map lit by a single flickering lamp. The front line is no longer a line. It's a blur, constantly shifting, always moving forward. How? Someone asks quietly. How are they sustaining this? No one answers, because the answer is too large, too overwhelming. This is not a campaign driven by tactics alone. This is a campaign driven by capacity. And capacity is something Germany no longer has. Fuel shortages worsen. Vehicles sit idle. Units wait for supplies that never arrive. And in that silence, in those moments of stillness, the contrast becomes unbearable. Because somewhere, not far away, the trucks are still moving. Always moving. Weber steps outside that night. The sky is dark, clouds drifting slowly overhead. And then he hears it again. That distant, endless hum. He closes his eyes. And for a moment, he can almost trace it. From here, back through Belgium, across France, all the way to the sea. An unbroken chain. When he opens his eyes again, there is no anger left, no frustration, no denial, only understanding. This is not a war we can catch up in, he says quietly. Because how do you fight something that is always ahead of you? By October 1944, the Americans are approaching the German border. The Rhine is no longer a distant objective. It's within reach. And still, the trucks keep coming. But now, for the first time, German officers begin to ask a different question. Not how to stop it, but what happens when it reaches Germany itself. Because if this system remains intact, if this flow continues, if this momentum is not broken, then the war will not just be lost. It will be overwhelmed. And the next phase will bring that reality home. March 7th, 1945. Remagen, Germany. The Rhine River cuts through the landscape like a final line of resistance. Cold, wide, defiant. For years, it had existed in German planning as something absolute, a natural barrier that would slow any enemy, buy time, restore order. A last chance. But this morning, that illusion is already breaking. On the western bank, American forces move quickly through the town of Remagen. Infantry spreads out. Engineers scan the structure ahead. The Ludendorff Bridge, still standing. Damaged. Wired for demolition, but standing. German officers scramble. Orders are shouted. Charges are checked. Timers are set. This bridge cannot fall intact. It must not. But behind the American infantry, the sound returns. Engines. Closer than ever before. Hauptmann Weber stands on the eastern bank, watching through binoculars as the first American troops approach the bridge. His hands are steady, but his thoughts are not, because he already knows what comes next. If the bridge holds, even for a short time, it won't just be soldiers crossing. It will be everything. The charges detonate. A violent crack splits the air. The bridge shudders. Smoke rises. Steel groans. But it doesn't fall. Weber lowers the binoculars slowly. For a moment, no one speaks. Then, movement. American soldiers rush forward. Across the bridge. Fast. Urgent. Determined. And behind them, the system follows. Within hours, engineers reinforce the structure. Within a day, traffic begins. Light vehicles first. Then, heavier ones. Then, the trucks. Always the trucks. Weber watches from a distance as the first convoy crosses the Rhine. Canvas-covered vehicles rolling steadily over a bridge that should not exist. Should not be usable. Should not be there. But it is. And with it, the final barrier is gone. The reports begin almost immediately. Enemy transport crossing the Rhine in volume. Supply flow established on eastern bank. Continuous reinforcement observed. Continuous. That word again. In a bunker not far from the river, a senior German staff officer listens as the updates come in. Faster. Closer. Relentless. He closes his eyes. Not in fear, not in panic, but in recognition, because this is the moment when everything becomes undeniable. This was never just about battles, never just about territory. It was about endurance, capacity, sustainment. And in that war, Germany has already lost. Outside, the roads begin to change. Where once German units moved cautiously, conserving fuel, managing scarcity, now American vehicles fill the space, moving freely, constantly, unopposed. Fuel trucks, ammo carriers, medical units, repair convoys. A complete system, operating flawlessly, on German soil. Weber walks along a quiet road that evening. Or what should be quiet. But it isn't. Because in the distance, that sound, closer than it has ever been, he stops, listens. And for the first time, there is no battlefield between him and it. No buffer. No distance. Just reality. The trucks pass through nearby towns now. Past homes. Past civilians. Past the remnants of what once felt secure. Unstoppable. A young German soldier stands beside him, watching the road. Silent. After a moment, he asks, "Is there anything left we can do?" Weber doesn't answer right away. Because the truth is no longer tactical. It's not something you can fix with a better plan, a stronger defense, a sharper attack. It's structural. Final. At last, he speaks. Quietly. No. The soldier looks at him. Not shocked. Not confused. Just still. Because somewhere deep down, he already knew. By late March, the flow intensifies. More crossings. More routes. More vehicles. The Americans don't slow after the Rhine. They accelerate. Because the system behind them, the one that began on distant beaches in Normandy, is still intact, still feeding, still pushing. Cities fall faster. Defenses collapse sooner. Resistance weakens, not always from defeat in battle, but from something else. Inevitability. Because how do you fight an enemy? That never runs out. By April, the roads of Germany tell the entire story, not through speeches, not through declarations, but through movement. Columns of American trucks, stretching across the landscape, unbroken, unchallenged, endless. The myth of German logistical superiority, carefully built over years of early victories, is gone, not shattered in a single moment, but eroded, worn down, overwhelmed by volume, by speed, by something far more powerful than precision alone, scale. Weber stands one last time beside the road, watching, listening. No anger remains, no disbelief, only clarity, because now, at the very end, he understands what he first glimpsed months ago in Normandy. It was never just trucks. It was a nation in motion. And once it started moving, there was no stopping it.